Liederman. Our sound engineer is Robert Richards. This program is produced at the University of Richmond in cooperation with WCVE Public Radio. Transcripts, podcast, audio, and video are available at amomentintime.com.
Wednesday morning on KSJE, it is time for our weekly trip to the Encouragement Lab, and that's where communications professor Dr. Mike Hattabaugh is literally standing by this morning, and we can see that that's true if you're watching us this morning on Facebook or YouTube. Dr. Hattabaugh, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, KSJE family. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, and thanks for joining us. And this week our topic is, who packs your parachute?
Who packs your parachute? Now, I'm guessing most of our listeners aren't planning on going parachuting this morning, but there's a great story behind that, and you ought to be thinking about that in your life, and it really adds a lot to what I do, encouragement and gratitude.
Interesting. All right. I still don't understand why anyone would jump out of a perfectly good airplane, but that's beside the point.
Well, in this case, there was a guy by the name of Charles Plumb who, after 75 missions in Vietnam, his plane was shot down.
Got it.
And as it went down, his seat ejected and his parachute came out, and he landed behind enemy lines. Just a couple weeks ago, we lost John McCain, who had a similar experience.
Got shot down. That's right.
And like John McCain, he spent, I think, like 5 years in not a concentration camp, a prisoner of war camp.
Right.
And after the war, he went back home and he lived his life. And after about 25 years, he was in a restaurant one day, and a man came up to him and said, "Hey, you're Charles Plumb. I packed your parachute."
Huh. Interesting. So, after all those years, right?
And Charles Plumb tells the story, and he says, I never even thought about that day. That was just something that happened. And until this man came up and told me that, it didn't hit me that, had this man... And he said, I saw them in the bottom of the ship every time we were on a mission. They repacked the parachute every time. And this enlisted guy in the Navy, his job was to fold the parachute just right so that when he ejected at whatever speed they were going, it came out safely and it landed. And he landed. And he said he had never thought about that until that moment. And so when he speaks now, he points that out, that so many of us get to doing our lives and, crazy things happen, like ejecting out of planes and getting captured by the enemy. And we never stop and think about who packed our parachute. He said in this case, for the rest of his life, he'll always be grateful to this man that packed his parachute, even though he hadn't even thought about it for years. And how many things happen to us in our life like that, where we are successful, things maybe bad don't happen to us, and we don't sit back and think, man, I should be grateful for all these people that were behind me that I may not even thought about that helped me along the way.
That's a very good point. And for many of us, there are a lot of folks that pack our parachutes and that help us appear to be successful, but there's usually a lot of other successful folks working behind the scenes to make that all happen. And this radio station is a case in point.
Exactly. I mean, all the sponsors and people that give behind the scenes.
That's right.
Just appreciate that and what it all takes, the decisions that were made at the board level, to buy the equipment that can put my beautiful face.
There you are.
Made for radio on screen. And yeah, so I have this word behind me. It'll be here for a while, this word gratitude. And that's a great example of that is, for instance, how many of us have somebody in our past that kind of scarred our life? And that tends to be what we fixate on. Well, how many teachers did you have back in your life that maybe weren't your favorite teacher, but they weren't your worst teacher? They helped you pack your parachute in ways you don't really remember. And sometimes we need to go back and think through those people and appreciate them. And one of the things I do every day at 8 o'clock, my alarm goes off on my phone and it says thank somebody. And one of the things I've been doing is writing thank you notes to people from my past and mailing them off. And, it's amazing to get the stories back from them. But a lot of times they're just people that packed my parachute. They weren't, people that were amazing in my life, but they're people that I've learned to appreciate, did really good things in my life. And that's important to go back and tell people thank you.
Very much. Very true. Well, Dr. Hattabaugh, another week of good advice from you in the Encouragement Lab. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let's hope we don't have to use our parachutes this week.
Let's hope not. That's very true. Thanks so much. That's Dr. Mike Hattabaugh from the Encouragement Lab, my guest every Wednesday here on KSJE Farmington.
How do you know what to make of the news? Is it politically inflected? Is it stenography? Is